This is the Thursday, July 9th, 2020 edition of the Dark Illumination Report Extra. On today's episode, I'm going to be answering a question from a listener who asked me if I can give them some contact information for people from England.
This is a Dark Illumination Report Extra with RJ Womack.
Hi, folks. Thanks for joining me for another episode of the podcast. I'm, of course, RJ Womack, aka Brother Nero, and this is the Dark Illumination Report podcast, where we try to promote the religious worship of Satan and demons as a serious faith and way of life. On today's episode, I'm going to be answering a listener question who asked me if I can give them some contact information for groups in England. And I'm also going to be giving you a book recommendation that I think will help you with some of your personal development work. As I've said in previous episodes of this podcast, not only are we trying to give you pre-Christian history to aid you in your religious practices, and we're also trying to give you practical rituals and practical ritual advice to help you in your devotional practices, but we're also trying to provide you with productivity tips, personal development tips, goal setting tips to help you be a better warrior for Satan, if you will. What I've found over the years, and the questions that I get most often from people are, I'm lost, I have no direction. Many people come from a home without a mother or father. Many people that are involved in diabolism come from very abusive backgrounds, incredibly abusive backgrounds. So a lot of people are just looking for a little bit of structure, a little bit of guidance, a little bit of help. And some people really do feel extremely lost and do need some structure in place for them. I mean, some people that I've met have had such a terrible background that they have very little structure. They don't know how to set goals. They don't know how to do to-do lists. They didn't even have that much structure in their life, you know? It's just interesting. I mean, there's people from all walks of life that are attracted to diabolism, but what we try to do is develop a program that is balanced, that we're trying to develop a ministry that is balanced, that is about trying to address all the different aspects of the person so that they can be a well-rounded individual so they can serve Satan. And that's our goal with this podcast, with this ministry, with this tradition. We're trying to make sure that we help somebody develop themselves into a stronger, better person. The whole idea of diabolism is to make you better. And if, as I've said before on this podcast, if your religion doesn't make you better or stronger, and your relationship with the gods don't make you better or happier, and don't help you live a better life, then there's something wrong with the way you're practicing. People, because they've been raised in a Christian background, have this mistaken belief that Satanism or diabolism is all about destruction and all about being miserable and all about being sad, or it's somehow a negative religion. And even people that say they believe in Satan tend to believe that negative press that Satanism gets. Even if they don't consciously say it, or even if they don't consciously think it, it's part of the subconscious thought process they go through because they've been raised in a Christian society. And whether we want to believe it or not, the way we've been raised and the way we've been conditioned and the way we've been taught does affect us. And that's one of the sad things about the situation that we find ourselves in. As much as we think we've moved beyond Christianity, the truth is we haven't moved beyond it that much, or at least some of us haven't. And so I just wanted to say that to you before I get into the basic question today, just to let you know that we're going to try to give you a balanced podcast. Some days we're going to give you religious practices you can do. Some days we're going to give you history. Some days we're going to give you personal development tips. And that might mean, leadership tips or productivity tips or goal setting tips, because we want you to be the best person you can be, both for yourself and for Satanism and for Satan. And that's one of the things I want to make clear to you here. We're not trying to get a bunch of mindless followers. We're not trying to develop a bunch of lemmings. We're trying to develop really strong people, and we're trying to create an organization that will be something that people will be proud to be a member of, something that people will be proud to say they're associated with, an organization that does good things and helps our community. That's our whole goal here. We're trying to break away from the kind of cult mentality, the mindless, follower. We don't want mindless people. We want people who genuinely want to help people. In fact, one of my biggest passions is that I want to bring back a mentality of priesthood that they used to have in ancient pagan traditions, where the people that are involved in the priesthood were there to serve the community. They were there to serve the gods. They were there to serve the community, and that was the whole point of being a priest. It wasn't a self-serving position. It wasn't meant to be a position that was all about the priest. In fact, it was supposed to be about serving the people. So that's something that I really want to bring back, and I'm looking for people in this organization, in this group, and in this tradition that want to serve the community, and it's not all ego driven. But anyway, enough of that. So let's get into the main question. Somebody asked me whether I have any contact information I can give them for my friends in England, and the honest answer is I can't, because the people that I know in England are individuals. They're an individual family. They're individual friends of mine. They are not part of a formal organization, nor do they have a formal organization. Even when they had a group, it was a family-oriented group. It was not an official organization. Now, as I told you a couple of episodes ago, I hadn't had contact with them in a while, and I got in contact with them recently. As you know, I was helping a friend of mine with a family crisis. That was one of the friends I was helping. And they are looking to start up a group at some point. And if they do, when they do, and if they do, then we probably will be working with them, with the ministry and with my group in association with them. So I will let you know if they decide they want to become available to the public and they want to make themselves known to the public. But honestly, they avoid the internet just as much as I do. They don't think that there's a lot of good people out there that are serious about Satanism. So they don't get involved in the satanic community online at all. In fact, they want to stay as far away from it as possible because they've had bad experiences like I've had. So they don't really want to meet people. And even if they did, they wouldn't do it without an extensive interview process before they'd even talk to someone, much less meet with them or have them come to England. So keep that in mind. And now the last thing I want to bring up is this book I want to recommend to you. It's called The Obstacle is the Way, and it's by Ryan Holiday. It's one of my favorite books, and it's a modern take on Stoic philosophy, and it will help you to develop a structure or a philosophy that will help you to learn to overcome obstacles as they come up. It gives a lot of stories of historical figures that overcame insurmountable odds in order to achieve their goals in life. A lot of stories that are very interesting, including the Emperor Marcus Aurelius and Ulysses S. Grant and some other very important figures. And I think it will help anybody who's struggling to make it through life and struggling with their own difficulties, and I highly recommend it. As I said to you, this group is not about a victim mentality. We try to avoid it like the plague. We do not believe in victimhood. We do not believe in, that whole mentality. That's not our way. That's not the satanic way, and we don't tolerate that kind of mentality here. So anyway, that's it for today, guys. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Dark Illumination Report podcast. For the latest news headlines, show information, and more, go to rjwomack.com. That's rjwomack.com.